32% of all U.S. land is beef ranch land, and then another 8% of all U.S. land is dedicated to like basically corn, which is then used for feed, specifically for beef. So 40% of all the land in the U.S. is dedicated to like beef production, essentially.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes a lot of land, man. Yeah, that's why Wyoming's so suited for it. There's more cattle here than people. So
Really?
yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah. I mean, there's what 600,000 people in
Not a lot of
all of
people
Wyoming
to outnumber.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I mean, that makes sense. It's beef country, right? That's beef's what's for dinner is always like a popular thing around here because that's a large part of the economy in a lot of places, like all of our neighboring states for sure. Almost every state has large beef production and just the way that people care about beef. Yeah, it's interesting that it's 40%. So kind of going back to the whole conglomerate thing. So let me paint you a picture of kind of what's happened in the last like 4 years. So cattle prices are insane. So the 5 conglomerates are obviously the largest importers and buyers in the United States. And so they kind of dictate what the price of cattle and everything is going to be. So what they've been doing is increasing the price of cattle by decreasing the supply into the retail shop. So increasing the price. So if I have a bunch of steers and I wasn't planning on selling them all, I'm going to sell them all because now the price is like some of the highest prices it's ever been, right? So we're dumping it. And so in the United States is a very low right now for cattle production. So our inventory on the whole United States is super low, which ergo increases the price even more.
Is that intentional?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's happening to sweat people like us. Yeah. So what they're doing is, 100%. Yeah. So they are increasing the price of cattle to where they can import their some of their market share and get a 1% profit off of everything and be happy with that because they sell hundreds of millions of pounds of cattle or of beef all over the United States, and so 1% to them is pretty good. Which makes my pricing, I can't necessarily be as competitive now. And so that where it helps is we own the processing facility, we own the ranches, we own the retail stores. So we own the whole supply chain of it to really where we can maintain our costs to be sort of competitive with the large chains right now. Yeah, it's pretty insane. So yeah, they're just trying to sweat people like us and your ranchers to make them stop doing it and make sure that they can't compete with what their product is. That, in my opinion, is a super inferior product anyway.
That's crazy. It's all just money driven.
It is, yeah. I mean, look around, dude. That's the world, you know?
Yeah.
It's so sad to see.
It's so sad. Yeah, I mean, like nobody's benefiting from that other than the people that own those businesses. Like, people are getting less quality food and meat. Mm-hmm. People like you or other people, like the smaller people, are struggling more, like the smaller businesses. I'm sure a lot of people have probably gotten out of business, like small ranchers.
Oh, 100%. And everything. Yeah.
Damn.
That
sucks.
Yeah. No, it's good for ranchers though. Like, that is out of the whole thing, it is great for ranchers because it's large prices for ranchers. So that means they're getting more money. So that's great. For the producer side of things, like people like us, not as great because we got to buy those, right? And so, but we're still here. We're not going anywhere. Yeah. You know, we'll fight as long as we can for all that stuff. So,
well, who are some of those big competitors? You know,
JBL is one of them. Tyson.
Tyson.
Yeah, Tyson's wild. But JBL is a large one. They're a primarily Brazilian-owned company, so they import a lot from South America and things like that. And so and you see it. It's so crazy, man. When you go to like a sale barn, you can almost see them not bid against each other. Yeah, because there are certain producers that they use and sell to the same producers. And then even when those people, like the head name company guy, goes and buys them from like the feedlot and stuff, they're like, oh no, these ones are overweight. We're not going to buy these ones. Or these ones aren't quite there yet. They need like another couple of weeks. They come back a couple of weeks later. Now they're overweight. We're discounting the price on it. Like they control it all. Like they're the producers. What are you going to do? Not sell your cattle to them? You know? And so, that's where it's super important for like just to cut the processing is huge. Like going back because they own the major processing facilities. Like And of course, just economically, another reason why we're kind of a little different is we're in Wyoming, right? So the main ones are by those 9% of cornfields that you were talking about. So
Yeah.
they're in Iowa, they're in Nebraska, Colorado, is where all the major processing facilities. There's one in Minnesota that's opening up, supposed to be one of the largest one ever. That is actually strictly rancher based. So we'll see how that goes, if it continues or not.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I saw another stat. It was versus compared to 50 years ago, we produce. I just want to get your thoughts on this. We produce 20% more beef, but there's 15% less cattle than 50 years ago. Is it just because like they're like they figured out how to make the beef bigger, like per
Oh, for
like
sure.
per
Yeah.
cattle head, like
Oh,
they get more meat out of it?
100%. Have you ever, so when you go to a bull sale, for example, what happens is you get a catalog. In the catalog, it has specifically registered things. So register, we can get into that later, but you get a catalog of everything that's in the sale. So within every bull, there's these things called it's like the stats of that specific bull and its offspring or him or whatever the case may be. And so in there's ones that are ribeye area, carcass weight, birth weight. We care about IMF, intermuscular fat, which is marbling, ribeye size, all the different components, the elevation, because elevation's a big one with brisket disease, all these sorts of things related to that specific. And so that's kind of what you judge how you want to buy your bulls for your herds and things like that. So specifically, let's talk about Angus, right? Everyone knows about Black Angus, and there's just more money in all that. There's the registered side of things there's a lot of money in that. So the genetics have came a long way. And so that's why I think that is because looking at those charts now, they're specifically breeding their herds to exactly the needs of what they're like, gosh, I have really good marbling, but I wish my ribeye area was a little higher. And so what they're going to do is incorporate genetics of these bulls that have higher ribeye area. And so now it's making these steers, exactly what the going back to intentionality, right? Exactly kind of what's needed for your herd and things like that. And so people have gotten a lot better at that, frankly.
Interesting. Do you think that's a bad thing, or it's just like...
Oh, no, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I would argue it's actually a good thing because exactly we're getting a more yield on less product. And now we, instead of 40% of the country, we can maybe even get that down because we're meeting the demands of the market and things like that.
That makes sense.